defense industry, something like that. So that's just something that's really interesting that a lot of people don't realize. And just lastly, touching on the point about like where the fight is going to be in America, I have some fun stats. I was doing some research today. So 80% of the population of the US right now lives in urban cities. 80% is actually higher depending on how you rate rural cities. During the 80s, so during the Cold War and the content that was coming around there, it was 73.7%. So a lot more people lived in rural areas back during the Cold War, and over time we've become a much more urban population. But what's really funny is during the colonial times, it was only between 5 and 10% lived in cities and towns. So we are predominantly an urban-based population. And I believe the majority of the fighting that may or could happen and did happen in 2020 is going to be in urban cities. It's not going to be out in the woods. It's not going to be running around in M81 in the woods. It's probably going to be in cities. Low vis, weird, guerrilla type operations or guarding businesses, Korean riots, or the LA riots, I should say, rooftop Koreans, is probably what's more likely. And that's what we saw in 2020. So that's all things that are important to think about. But the last thing that I want to point out is nobody has this figured out. Like whenever I see the crazy what if scenarios online, like, oh, you've never lived in a ditch for months, so you'll die automatically. And then, oh, well, you suck at shooting because you're just like a veteran. You just suck at shooting, you're going to die too. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody has it figured out on exactly how much people should focus on which things. It doesn't exist. If we knew exactly, like if you knew exactly you were going to be in a gunfight in like 4 weeks, and you just knew 2 aggressors, they're going to have handguns, you could train specifically for that. You could focus on specific skills, you could focus on certain things, but unfortunately, none of us, civilians at least, who don't have specific mission sets, we don't have a thing to train for. We don't have a specific mission, purpose, like concept. This is one reason. I was talking to one of my buddies last night on Discord. We were not playing Elden Ring, we were playing 2042, believe it or not. And I asked him this question, and we were talking about it a little bit. He said, this is one of the beauties of a shooting competition. You could set one far enough out, you have a specific thing you're training for, and you can work towards that. Now, that's a shooting competition. That's not some crazy civil unrest, LA riot situation, but it does give you something to train for. And I actually talk about this quite a bit in one of the upcoming YouTube videos we have on the sniper match that I attended recently. I had a specific type of event that I knew I was going to go to. I knew roughly what kinds of targets I was going to engage. I knew roughly what kind of equipment I needed, and I spent 3 months getting ready for it. And that was enjoyable. I had a specific thing to work towards. I wasn't like shooting like an AR 1 week and then a sniper rifle a week and then my concealed carry handgun. I had a specific thing I was getting ready for. But unfortunately, as civilians, we don't have specific scenarios to prepare for. We kind of have to juggle everything all at once. And it's unfortunate. But there is one thing that I believe applies to all of us, especially during peacetime. There's one thing we should all be doing and can all be doing that's not even related to shooting, survival, small unit tactics, water filtration, CBRN, canine. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about civilian canine use, but that'd be interesting. And that is becoming exceptional managers of people. And I'm not just talking leadership of like you have 10 people under you. I'm talking like you're managing relationships. And I'm not necessarily talking about your relationship with your wife or girlfriend, or maybe you don't have one yet. You should look into that and not be single forever and forever alone. But you're able to work with other people. And the best way to do this is at your job. You're going to spend more time, here's the thing, this is kind of sad. I know I spend more time with people at my job than with my wife. That's just the nature of it. I'm at T-Rex so much that I'm working with people all throughout the company more than I see my wife. And that's the nature of the beast for probably most of you, or a lot of you, especially people working 2 jobs. But just think about all the experience you can be acquiring through that process of learning how to work with people, learning how to diagnose what this person needs in order to get a project done, what you need to tell this person so that maybe you could get something across the finish line, what you should or should not say to this person, because all of that plays into some form of future conflict. It all plays into some sort of resistance, civil war movement. Now, unfortunately, the reason you don't hear people talking about this is it's not sexy. It's not cool. It's not CQB. It's not slow-mo breaching doors and doing cool stuff. But every single war and civil conflict out there has been based around logistics, planning, and managing people. You always have to have people to achieve victory. You can't achieve victory without people. So if you have a job out there, my recommendation is you maximize your time and your effort at that job so you can be the most prepared person when it comes to working with human beings. If you happen to work in the AI world, learn how to use robots, learn how to turn those to be on our side and not on their own, and that would be very helpful as well.